Let us dream of evanescence and linger in the beautiful foolishness of things. Welcome to Adventure in Art. My name is Ben Staley, your resident talking head. That quote at the beginning is from the Book of Tea, written by Okakura Kakuzo. Hope I said that name right, because that is such a cool name. This video is about the Sigma BF. BF for beautiful foolishness. It's certainly a beautiful camera. Is it foolish? Hang on. Okay, if you're new here, I don't really do reviews. I do talk about some gear occasionally. What I do is I just go use stuff, and I use it as hard as I can, as much as I can, and then I talk about my experiences. That's how I do reviews. I don't get terribly technical. I don't get super deep into it. I let other people do that. I'm in the business of making stuff and making the best stuff that I possibly can. The homies at Sigma lent me a BF for a couple weeks, and I did use it like crazy. Took it to a music festival, shot some models, took it into a recording studio and photographed some musicians. I was really busy during that 2 weeks, and I used the darn thing like crazy. So I'm gonna show you a ton of pictures. I'm kind of a Sigma fanboy. I mean, I've owned multiple lenses of theirs in multiple lens mounts over the past decade and a half as I've transitioned between lens mounts and camera manufacturers and that kind of thing. I've had Nikon mount, I've had Sony mount, now I'm doing L mount. So if you watch the channel, you know that Sigma 85 Art is pretty much my favorite portrait lens of all time. When the BF was announced earlier this year, I was instantly very intrigued and very interested. Yeah, I mean, the darn thing's been around for 6 months or so. I guess I'm kind of a late bloomer. I'm not the guy that gets these camera videos out right away, but that's okay. That's okay. It's taken time, and I think this camera's gonna be around a little while, and I'm glad I finally got the opportunity to use it. Sigma is cool. They're basically a family-owned company. They're a pretty small company if you put them up next to the big boys, but they've been owned by a single family, and they've got their own manufacturing facility. That, in my opinion, makes them like cooler than almost everybody else. Like, that's rad. Owned by the same family, they make all their own stuff themselves. That is surprisingly rare these days. I'm gonna try and zip through this as quick as I can. I know I get long-winded. There's a lot of work to show. Let's get right into the first batch of photos, and I'm just gonna kind of go through the specs as we look at these photos so that you get some nice visual eye candy as well. I didn't have a ton of time with this camera. I basically went over to Sigma, I picked it up. Early the next morning, I hopped on a plane and I flew up to Oregon for the Good Time Campout. The Good Time Campout is a 3-day music, art, dance, camping out family festival that is thrown actually by my sister-in-law. So if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you've definitely seen other videos featuring the Good Time Campout. I also want you to let me know in the comments if you want to see a full video all about the Good Time Campout, because I did shoot a lot of video there and I took a ton of pictures, not just with the BF. So just let me know. Let me know if you want to see that. Okay, specs as we get into this. It's a full frame camera. I want to bring this up right away because this is kind of a boo-boo of mine. And this is one thing that I wish I'd have known when I had the camera. I wish I'd have investigated further. If you get a chance to use it or you're thinking of buying it or whatever, I think this is something that you're gonna wanna know, so I'm putting this right at the top. I asked for a 35mm lens with the camera. BF comes in black and silver, by the way, if you didn't know. I got the silver version and got a silver 35mm contemporary lens. It's an f2 small 35mm lens. What do I say all the time? Trust your instincts and that little voice in your head. I put the lens on. Right away when I started shooting with it, I was like, this doesn't feel like a 35mm lens. And I kind of thought, okay, maybe it's because there's no EVF and I'm holding the camera out here and I'm just looking at the LCD on the back. I am historically a big EVF guy. I like shooting here. I typically very rarely use the screen on the back of the camera to shoot, but so I just kind of thought, maybe it's just because I'm I'm just looking at this LCD, and that's why it doesn't feel like a 35. It felt tighter. I actually went through like a week and a half of shooting this way and always feeling like, man, this just feels like tighter than 35. It wasn't till, you're gonna see these photos later, I got into the studio with some musicians and I was shooting with another camera and I had a 35mm lens on that camera, and then I was side by side and I'm like, wait a minute. This is not as wide as the 35mm. Yeah, you were right, Ben. And I investigated, and there is an internal crop mode if you go into the menus, and I just wish I'd have known that right away, because it's not actually like, it doesn't just crop the JPEGs, it crops the whole darn sensor, so you actually don't get the full resolution. Now, I guess there's advantages to this, or if you just want to zoom in, it's a curious feature. I don't typically like those kind of features, and if I owned the camera and was shooting with it, I'd never use it, because if I wanted to crop in, I could just do that later in post. But anyways, most of the photos that I shot were, yes, with a 35mm lens, but cropped in at a 1.5, basically like an APS-C. So it made the 35 kind of look like about a 50, just so you know. Okay, got that out of the way, moving on. 35mm sensor. There's an ISO range of 100 to 102,000. Max shutter speed 1 to 25,000. It's electronic shutter only, so it's weird. You don't get that audio feedback. It's very quiet, and then, you know, if you don't have the preview set to preview the image, it's like sometimes you're like, did I take a shot? I got pretty used to it, and I kind of like the stealth mode of it. It does continuous shooting up to 8 frames per second. You are looking at photos from the good Time Campout. Yes, music, arts, there's acrobats, there's face painting, there's all kinds of bands. Shooting the bands is like my favorite thing to do. Okay, back to the specs. It does shoot video H.264, H.265, L-Log color profile. It's up to 6K, 30 frames per second, full HD, 120 frames a second. I only shot one clip of video with the thing the whole darn time. You want to see that? It's from the good Time Campout. Here we go. It's this frog. Yeah, this is the only video I took. Whenever I have like a 35mm or semi-wide lens, or I guess this is kind of a standard lens, but what I'm super interested in lenses is what's the close focus, like how much macro can I get? This little 35 had pretty good close focus. There's no IBIS in the camera, and I will tell you, when you get down to the slower shutter speeds, you really feel it. Is it a deal breaker for me? No, but we'll talk about that at the end. The other thing that's cool about this camera is it doesn't take cards. It has internal storage, 230 gigs. Am I right about that? Yes, 230 gigs internal storage. There's a single USB port. This is how you transfer the data. You can also charge it that way. Like came with one battery. They didn't give me a charger, so you have to charge it via USB, and that's how you get the images off. I will tell you, I shot with this thing almost every single day for 2 weeks, and I didn't come close to filling up the storage. It's pretty cool to not have to worry about a card. One thing that it does too that I wish more camera manufacturers did this is every day it puts the photos in a different folder. So I shot with this thing, you know, for days and days, and at the end I could plug it into the computer and just look at every day's photos were in a different folder, just sort of indexed by the date. And I think that is really cool, and I wish more camera manufacturers would do things that way. If you're traveling, if you're shooting for days on a time without changing cards, it's really handy. Okay. Hybrid autofocus, phase detect, contrast detect. I found that it had really great autofocus. Unibody design, yes. Unibody design. It's milled out of a solid block of aluminum. Apparently it takes like 7 hours to make one camera. Like, that's pretty badass. Minimal physical controls with haptic pressure feedback. It's got different control layouts. I think about this, like if you're trying to develop a new camera, you know, these guys came up with a whole new camera system, and they're just like, we're doing the controls all different. Yes, the iris is on the lens. You've got this one little dial and this push button, and you can just move around and control it pretty quickly and pretty easily. I was able to figure it all out in about 2 minutes. And then it was kind of muscle memory, and it was really easy. I really didn't have any trouble after that. I wonder how long it took them to like kind of develop this system of controlling the camera. Here's some shots that I took just walking around my neighborhood. I do this pretty much every morning. I will tell you this, carrying this camera, it is a head turner. I had so many people go, what is that? That's kind of cool to have a camera where people are just go, what the heck is that? It doesn't look like anything else. Kind of rad. Do aesthetics matter? I actually think that they do, yes, they do. I mean, if you're a photographer, you are in the business of visual art, of aesthetics. And so having a camera that is beautiful, it's pretty cool. There ain't nothing that looks like this thing. Look, I will just say right away, I applaud Sigma for designing this thing and making it unique, making the controls unique, making the appearance unique. I wish there were more weird cameras out there, because I feel like most cameras are all just iterations of other cameras. They're just kind of the same design, really similar functions. You get into the menus, those are different, but how you operate the camera, they're all fairly similar. And honestly, form determines function. So I found myself using this particular camera differently than I've used any other camera, and that's not a bad thing. Moving on. Hey, of course, if I see snails, I have to take a picture of the snail. What do you think? Here I am testing out the close focus and the autofocus. Pretty dope. So yeah, there's no EVF and there's no articulating screen. You just have this big LCD on the back. The LCD is bright and it's very detailed, and I had no problem with it. There is a battery. With the battery, it's 446 grams. That's just under a pound. The battery has a rating of 260 shots per charge. I don't know, I didn't test that out. I was warned that you should bring an external battery that you can plug in. If you're carrying it around, you just plug it in and charge it via USB that way, and I did that. It does chew through the batteries fairly quickly. I was warned that by the nice folks at Sigma. Was it a deal breaker for me? No. I was using other cameras at the festival and walking around, and I pretty much always just had an external battery with me. So I was able to get through like a long day, no problem. Something to keep in mind. If I was gonna use this on like say a dedicated pro job, I'd definitely have a handful of batteries. It's nice to be able to just boom, boom, swap them out. But yeah, and then at the end of the day, I would just plug it in, boom, USB-C, charge it up, good to go. Price is $21.99. Okay, moving on. Right when I got back from the Good Time Campout, I had a shoot scheduled with my friend Jenna, who's a model that I've shot before. She's a pro model, and we had been planning this shoot for quite some time. Check this out. One of my favorite shots from that shoot, of course, I shot Jenna with like 5 different cameras if you include video. I mean, I shot her with a couple different film cameras and a couple different digital cameras, mostly with the Sigma 85 Art. You're gonna see that whole shoot in a future video, but here are the shots I took of Jenna with the Sigma BF. I will tell you this, the hairstylist and Jenna and the makeup artist, when I would show them the back of the cameras and what I was shooting, they all gravitated toward the BF photos the most. I just think they kind of like that wider focal length, and everybody just seemed to really dig the BF photos. I don't know, I didn't have a preference. I like everything. Like I said, it is one of my favorite shoots of all time. Jenna's amazing, and we had an amazing team. Here are a few of my other favorites. And like I said, the camera looks amazing. Here's Jenna holding the BF. Shot this, of course, with S5 IIX, which is recording me, and the Sigma 85. It just has this timeless classic look. It's actually a cool camera to film a model holding. I wish I had known about the crop mode, but these still came out pretty epic. I added a little bit of grain in post because I kind of wanted this vintagey, timeless look. So actually, the actual images would be a teeny bit sharper because I did add this grain in Lightroom. Next, I took the camera into a recording studio. My friend Bo was recording an album, so I hung out there for a couple hours and did some kind of doc style shots while they recorded some songs. This is actually one of my favorite things to do ever. I love to be in a recording studio, and I love shooting musicians. You guys know that if you watch this channel. The camera works really great in situations like this. Super happy with the performance. This is when I was shooting side by side with another camera, and I learned, oh yes, I'm not shooting at 35 millimeters here. I'm cropped in. Figured that out. And to round it out, here's a couple shots of Kara and Tracy in my studio. You guys know about the studio if you watch this channel. Here's Kara putting on some makeup, and here's Tracy, who's an old friend of mine. I've photographed her a few times. You're probably gonna see her in some more videos coming up. Really loved this photo shoot and really liked what I got out of the BF with Tracy. These are without a crop in camera, full res, 35mm. Okay. Now that's long-winded enough. Let's get into some actual thoughts. It's beautiful, but is it foolish? Yes, it's very foolish, and I like that. I want more foolish cameras. I want more weird cameras. I want more cameras that have their own kind of controls, their own way of using them. Please, form determines function. So what I've learned, without having an EVF, without a tilting LCD on the back, it just really affects the way you use the camera. I like to put the camera on the ground a lot, and like, unless you're laying on the ground, you can't see directly. Luckily, it has good autofocus, and you can tap on the screen where you want it to focus. So I would, like, say for shooting the snails and things, I would put the camera on the ground, kind of tap right where I wanted, click. So you have to use the camera in a specific way. It's not an everything camera, but I'm someone who actually likes that. One thing I wish it had was another lug for a strap. It basically just comes with a wrist strap and there's a single lug. I want another lug because I like to have a crossbody strap and I don't always want it attached to my wrist. What I did is I just hooked a strap to it, I took a strap, looped around and hooked it to the wrist strap, so it's kind of dangling by one strap. There's different ways you could rig it and you could do that, and that's probably what they're thinking. I would actually like another lug in a corner so I could just have two lugs and a crossbody strap. You get the point. You definitely notice the lack of IBIS when you get into slow shutter speeds, and especially a lot of the dark stuff that I did at the Good Time Campout. Is this a deal breaker for me? No, but it's something that you notice. And if you're shooting in low light, you're gonna wanna have the camera supported if you're going into really slow shutter speeds. I didn't test it on a tripod or anything. I wish I'd had time to do that. There's a lot more things I would love to do with this camera. Here's something that I was thinking. Yes, it is kind of a weird camera, right? So why not get weird with the sensor? Like, why not make one of these with a 12 megapixel sensor? And I was thinking that because I used to have an A7S II, 12 megapixels, and I use that mostly for video, but I shot a lot of stills with it. It's really cool to have low pixel density and just to have a better low light sensor. And I think a camera like this, it'd be pretty cool to have a really good optimized low light sensor. Think about it, Sigma. That's just me. 24 megapixels is a lot. Now I know we're kind of in this megapixel race. I actually have another video coming up pretty soon where I use a camera with a lot of megapixels, spoiler alert. So you're gonna see that coming up, and I definitely have opinions about that too, but I don't have a problem having less megapixels. Give me that really good low light sensor. Okay, let's talk about lenses. I kind of regret not throwing different lenses on it, but again, I just wanted to get a feel for this one camera, one lens kind of system and use it in a ton of different situations. Of course, I actually have, I don't know, more than a dozen L-mount lenses because the cameras I use most of the time are L-mount. So I have a lot of different options. You know, similarly to like my S9, you guys have seen a lot of my S9 videos. I really love that camera and I put manual lenses on the front of it a lot of times, like adapted M-mount lenses that are really small. One thing that I want for this camera are some autofocus smaller lenses. Like that's the same thing I actually want for the S9. Here's what I was thinking about. Okay, the first mirrorless camera I ever had was a long time ago now. It was like 15 years ago, and it was a Lumix GH2, and it was one of the only mirrorless cameras on the market at the time. And so the lens that I bought with the camera was a Lumix 20mm 1.7 pancake lens, a little lens. It had the equivalent of a 40mm. It was a really small little lens. Why can't someone make a 40mm, a full frame lens that's also a pancake, that's also pretty small? F2, 1.7, 1.8, make that lens. I could put it on the S9. If I had a spiffy little like chromed out one that could go on the BF, that would be amazing. I want specialty lenses for these specialty cameras. Now you could throw those lenses on other cameras as well, but come on guys, you're making these cool cameras, you put all this R&D into this whole camera, make us some specialized smaller lenses, because this thing, as small as it is, as compact as it is, and as tough as it is, if you had a little pancake lens, you could stuff that thing right in a pocket. That would make it so attractive to me. Do I want one? Yeah, I do want one actually. I really, really like this camera. Am I gonna run out and buy one? Not right now. But if I had a lens like that, it would make it really, really hard for me to not get one. Like really, really hard. I'm serious. I actually want the black one. I was over at Sigma and Jorge, one of the Sigma guys, he was running around with the black one and I was just like drooling a little bit with envy. This looks so cool. The silver looks cool, but the black, all just like stealthed out, so dope. Give me that black BF with a little black pancake lens that's with some autofocus. I want the autofocus because I don't have an EVF and I don't have a tiltable screen. So when I put the camera at weird angles, I want to know that it's locking on to whatever I'm shooting. I really want a pancake lens. If I mentioned that, you guys, like 40 millimeter, I think 40 would be sweet. Just take that 20 millimeter micro four thirds that's been around for 15 or 16, 17 years, blow that up a little bit, make it L mount. Come on, you guys. Okay. That is my super quick, down and dirty, non-technical review experience with the Sigma BF. I love what Sigma's doing. I love their innovation. I love that they're family owned and they're kind of just doing their own thing. They're making lenses with lens mounts for most of the manufacturers out there. I love the quality of their optics. They are my favorite optics. So that's it. Thanks for watching. That's my quick and dirty Sigma BF video. It's a cool camera. I like it. I kind of want one. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again real soon. Take it easy.